Everyone, it's Sally back again on the silver reed introduction to using a silver reed type knitting machine course, and in this video number 7, I'm going to talk about the use of holding position and short rowing. I'm trying to go through in this introduction sort of all of the basic techniques that you need to be able to knit a garment, and short rowing is one of the most useful ones. It can be used to shape shoulders, shape necks. I'm trying to see if this will illustrate on here. I don't know if you can see the shoulder line of this cardigan, but it is short rowed across these stages here to make a slight slope to the shoulder shape. I've used it on the neckline here to shape the curve of the shoulder, and you can also use it to create interesting shapes like chevrons and pinwheels. This is a like a beret style hat or tam, whatever you want to call it, and it's done using the short row technique, produce this interesting swirl effect. So you can also use it to knit circular items like baby shawls, baby blankets, or semicircles for more adult versions of a similar thing. So short rowing, certainly in terms of garment construction, is a very useful technique. Now on the silver reed machines, I'll just swivel this slightly to one side. At the front of the carriage, you've got these two metal levers. These are called Russell levers, and they have two positions. Position when they're out is position 1, and 2 is where they're back against the carriage. And the 1 and 2 markers are marked on the front of the carriage here. For most normal knitting, they're left in position 2. However, when it comes to short rowing or using holding position, they get moved to position 1. So that's what I'm going to do now. Going to move them out to position 1. Now in position 1, any needle in B position will continue to knit. So there, Russell leaves are out on 1, but needles in B position were still knitting. But if you put needles out to D position with the Russell levers set on 1, then those needles won't knit. Now the important thing to remember when putting groups of needles out into holding position is that you have to do it on the side away from the carriage. You cannot do it on the carriage side for rather obvious reason. If you put all these needles out to hold and they're knitted, you get a whole loop of thread on the knitting until it starts again. So you put needles into hold on the side opposite to the carriage. Let's move you slightly closer. So for example, I've got 50 needles in work here. If I wanted to put 10 of them into hold, I'd put them out to D, 8, 10, and then knit across. And as you can see now, those needles haven't knitted back, and the working thread is carried over the top of the needles here. Now in order to avoid a hole forming when you turn this back, you have to do what is called a wrap, and that just means putting the yarn under the first needle, this one, and then laying it back over the remaining 9, and then you can knit back. And so you can carry on putting more needles into hold. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Knit across, wrap, and knit back. So that's quite simple. That's how you put needles into holding position. You can also do something called an automatic wrap. And to do that, if it says to put 10 needles out into hold, you'd put out 1 less, so put out 9, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, knit across, and then put the 10th needle into hold and knit back, and you can see that it's created the same yarn over, which is the wrap to avoid the hole. So that's quite straightforward. So you can either manually wrap or put one less needle out and then put the final needle out after you've knitted across, and that will create the automatic wrap. To put needles back into work, if you're knitting plain stocking stitch, you can just push them back to upper working position. Don't push them all the way back to B, otherwise the stitches will fall off. But if you push them back to C position, like that, to upper working position, you can then knit back. And again, you need to wrap the end needle to knit back to avoid a hole. To do an automatic wrap by reverting the needles into work, put back one more than you intend and then put the extra one back out. Again, that creates the wrap. And finally, we'll put those back. So that has created like a wedge shape in the knitting by putting needles in and out of holding position. So you can also use holding position to create neckline shapes. And normally to do that, you knit necklines in two halves, round necks. So you would put all of the needles to the left of naught into hold, and then you will commence your neck shaping. Now normally at the centre of a round neck there's a flat section, so we'll create a flat section of 5, 2, 4, 5, and then to continue the curve around the neck you would then start to put needles into hold one at a time as you knit the next few rows. So if I put another 5 into hold, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that is now creating a round neck shape on this section of the knitting here. I'll knit a few rows and then take this half off. And this is another reason why claw weights are useful, because you now need to put some weight here. And the little claw weights are much easier to control than the bigger ones. So that is the other side of the neck. So if I take those off the machine now, and I can move the carriage right the way over to the left-hand side because I haven't put them on waste yarn or cast them off because it's just a sample piece, but normally for a shoulder you'd be taking it off on waste yarn. And then to recommence knitting my round neck, there it is, I would put the left-hand needles back to upper working position and then work the centre neck shaping again. So 5 will go back for the centre, rethread, so that portion has knitted back, they stay and hold, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, put a bit of weight on here, knit a few rows, and if I take this off you can now see that that has created a round neck. Oops. So in order to now finish my neck off, I'll pick up stitches from the side of the neck. I'll just do a few here for a demonstration purpose. Oops, come on. I shall knit 1 row in my main yarn, and now I'm going to put my rustle levers back to 2 because I want to knit all of those back. There we go, all knitted back. And remove all the waste. So there you can now see your round neck shaping. And this is obviously just a sample piece. Your pattern will give you full instructions on how many needles to put in and out of hold, but that is how you shape a round neck. Demonstrate the use of holding position, and I don't know if you can see it on this red, but those are the wrapped needles showing where I knitted the sort of like wedge shaped piece in this sample. It doesn't show up terribly well, but on a larger item you would end up with this sort of pinwheel effect. Very, very fetching. It might show up more if I turn it inside out, I don't really know, but you can see all the different direction it goes, and this is just used by putting needles in and out of holding position. Very straightforward, but it is an extremely useful technique, and therefore one that is a good idea to master as early as you can in your machine knitting career, if you like. To say the critical thing to remember is if you're doing multiple stitches, you must do it on the opposite side to the carriage. You can put a single stitch on the carriage side into hold, but not more than one. And to remember to wrap the end needle either manually or by doing the automatic wrap. And that's all there is to holding position. It's worthwhile practicing it, practicing the wrapping, so that you know when the time comes to actually do it on a garment, that you know what the technique involves.